We are back working on my car for a change. That's something that doesn't seem to happen nearly often enough. So the last two cars I worked on got picked up just before the big winter storm moved in, dumping roughly a foot of snow on us, burying everybody in. And I figure this is probably a good window of opportunity to actually get this thing in here to do a couple things too before anybody else is actually ready and willing to bring their cars out here for me to work on. So after putting this thing on the dyno late last summer, we found out that we're running just a little bit lean at idle and way too rich at full throttle under a load, leaving a bit of power on the table. It put about 90 horsepower to the wheels, and this thing should be able to break 100 at the wheels. So that's quite a bit of drop. So we need to start doing some tuning on this thing, and of course it won't be till the weather starts warming up before we really get into that. But before we do that, we're going to be installing this AEM X Series wideband AFR gauge so that we can monitor it and use this as a tuning device while we're driving around on the road to figure out what this thing wants. So while we're watching the numbers on the gauge driving around, we can figure out how close are we actually on the needles. Do those need to be changed? Have we got the right dash pot springs in it, or the right oil? Maybe we need to change the weight oil. And I'm actually going to be looking at the damper rods too. I think I already know what I'm going to go with on the damper rods, but more on that when we actually get to start tuning it. So we got a kit here. It includes the gauge itself, the wideband sensor, the bung to weld into the exhaust system, and all the wiring required to install it. Of course, instructions, and of course, a sticker. You know, these stickers are good for up to 5 horsepower alone. So we need to get the exhaust system off and weld this bung in there, and then figure out exactly where we're going to be installing this in the car. So my thought here is I don't want to cut anything up here, and I don't want to hang a gauge, a bracket down anywhere here. So what we'll probably do is take this out of here, and we'll install this back in behind here. Then I can use it for all my tuning stuff, and then I can go ahead and pop this back on and not be looking at that all the time unless I'm really wanting to check the tuning or see what's going on. That way it's nice slick installation. Okay, so now that I've actually picked up the paperwork and looked at it, this is actually just an update bulletin, and they give you a QR code to look up the instructions, which is pretty much what every company does nowadays, because no one wants to print out the instructions and spend the money on that and include it with the product anymore. Pretty average. All right, so I got the instructions printed off. I've done a quick glance through so I have an idea of what's going on. Let's get this thing up in the air so we can get started. So here's the oxygen sensor that comes with the kit. It has been specially developed by AEM in conjunction with another company to be more motorsports focused so that it is compatible with racing fuels and is less prone to lead contamination, so it's more durable, which is a good thing because, and especially in my case here, because the gas stations around my area, more and more of them all the time, are only having 91 octane as their premium fuel. So it's getting harder and harder to find 93 and 94. So I keep 110 on hand to blend in when I have to get 91. So there's a little bit of lead in the fuel that I'm running a lot of times. And just in case you were wondering, Toyo Proxy RA1s, while they are great in the summertime and pretty good in wet weather, they don't make a very good snow tire at all. I was actually wondering if I was actually going to backed in here through the snow out there, even though it's been plowed out. Just the variations. All I was doing was spinning the tires and barely going anywhere. Great summer tire though. So now we got to figure out where we want to install this thing at. Now, I did read in the instructions that these are pretty sensitive and you need to have a leak-free exhaust system. Now, we don't have a welded system here, and we also have a slip joint here for the header that may potentially cause us some problems. We'll find out. If so, we'll deal with it. But they say you want to install this thing a minimum of 18 inches from either the cylinder head or turbochargers or whatever your setup is. And obviously we're well beyond that to get to the collector. We're probably 30 inches back. So we're going to be looking somewhere in this area here. Now I could probably put it here, but we're right at the collector and I'm not sure about the flow there. So we'll probably end up just putting it right about here. And this thing wants to be put at a minimum of a 10-degree angle up. Probably a little bit more. We'll probably go about 15 degrees. And then I should be able to just take the wiring, attach it to the cross member here, go right above the cross member, put the connector right in front of here, and then just run the wiring right up along the rest of my wiring up in through the firewall. So I guess I will figure out what 15 degrees is, mark it here, and then we can take the exhaust system off and get it on the workbench. Now we got the exhaust system on the floor and we got the bung out of the kit. Now we just need a bung hole to put it in. So we'll go ahead and mark this here, drill a hole. I went ahead and measured this as 3/4 of an inch. Drill a 3/4 of an inch hole in there, try to clean up the area as best we can and get rid of all the burrs, and I can weld that in. Step drills are really nice, but cheap ones, yeah, which I generally don't buy the good ones, but these are like Harbor Freight's like upgrade ones. They work pretty decent. I do think really good quality ones are worth the investment, but they are kind of expensive. Oh, a little bit bigger than that. That one's, maybe I measured it wrong, it's 7/8. Yes, it's 7/8. I measured it wrong. Took too quick of a measurement on it. So I do have a really good one here. It's well used, but it's short enough to get in there. We got ourselves our bung fitting nice and tight. Now I just got to clean it up really good so we can weld it. So here's another case where stuff from other industries is really good for cars. This is actually a rifling file set. But a file like that works really good for getting in here to clean all the burrs out. Now, if your pipe was galvanized originally like mine was, you need to get through the galvanizing and clean it down to bare metal. You don't want to be welding through the galvanizing. Especially if you're TIG welding. Now, why is it? Well, a little more cleanup. That fits nice and tight, which is good. The tighter it fits, the less likely you're going to have a leak. So this bung is not a stainless bung, it's just a machined mild steel bung. If you have a stainless exhaust, they do offer a stainless bung to put in there. Now, I am by no means an expert at TIG welding. I've done a bit of TIG welding over the years, but it's been a while since I've been doing much. And I just upgraded my setup and got new gas lens and stuff, and I'm just learning how to deal with all the new setup. I think I need a little more heat. Not exactly something to write home about, but it should suffice there. I definitely need to work on my TIG welding skills and get a little more experience and make them better. At this point, I am completely 100% self-taught with some paint on it. It'll look okay. So there you go, a little bit of heat paint covers some of this ends. Now after welding this, you should chase the threads. The more heat you put in it, the more likely you're going to have a little bit of distortion in the threads. And they do make a simple little tool. It's double-ended. It's spark plug and oxygen sensor thread chaser that's at the parts store in the tool aisle. They're fairly cheap. You can run around with one of those through there, but I don't think I have one of those. I'll have to look. All right, got the exhaust bolted back onto the car, and I've just got this in like one thread in here. We don't want to tighten it yet because we're going to have to calibrate it out of the exhaust pipe to free air before we actually finally install it. But I want to see what my routing is going to be and how I'm going to support my wires. And so I'm going to have to put something here on the cross member to hold the wire clip or something, and then see where my connector is going to be at and figure out the rest of my routing. So I've just been following the wiring harness from the rear of the car, just attaching it to that with little zip ties as I go, and bringing it up through all the P-clips and stuff. And they give you plenty of wiring. So on these things, you could run them just about any way you want to run it. It's almost like they expect you to install this on a much bigger car than this. Weird. But if you do use zip ties, and like I'm doing here, it's a good idea to pick yourself up a set of these little flush cut cutters. They're not that much money. I put off buying one for a long time, and now I wish I'd have bought them a long time ago. So it cuts these things off flush to where you don't end up with bits sticking out that you can cut your hands on. So I think I can go ahead and run this down through and get it probably right through the grommet here for the original wiring harness and take it back in behind the dash. So of course now I'm going to have to take the console out in order to be able to get in here and figure out how to make a bracket to hold that thing where I want it. I currently don't have all the screws in there at the moment. And this is broke out on mine like so many others, so it's not being held on back there. So it's pretty easy to get that out in my car. So we just need to get these screws out and pull the console out. Somewhere about in there. I'll be right about in there. So I just need to figure out some sort of a bracket here. And I do have some gauge brackets. I can go see what I got sitting around, and we might be able to start with a gauge bracket and work with it. So I went ahead and ended up just making my own little gauge bracket here out of 18 gauge. And we can put that right there. Put a screw or two on top, a screw or two on the bottom. That should set it right where I need it. I just might have to move my bracket now for the flasher unit for the 4-way flashers. Just decide if I want it offset or centered here. But we'll go ahead and take this. I'll get some paint on it so that's ready to install. And then we'll continue moving forward. Well, I got my bracket all painted up, installed. Went ahead and got the gauge in it. And we got power hooked up to ground here and to the hot for the radio, so that'd be a key on power source, which is exactly what we want. And now we can see if it powers up. I did read the instructions a little bit more and found I do not have to actually calibrate it free air. That's just a thing where if at some point you think it's not calibrated properly, you can do that later, but they advise not to do it when you first install it. So it helps to actually read the whole instructions rather than just skimming them over. So let's see what we got here. Hey, here we go. Now I just need to learn how to use it with all the buttons and modes and stuff. It is a heated one, so right now it's heating up. And it won't read until it's heated up. So let's get this thing fired up and see if it shows any kind of numbers. There we are. We're showing right around 13 to 1 at idle right now, which we might be showing a little bit on the lean side just because there might be some air leaks around that slip joint, but at least we have some numbers to go by now. So here's our final installation here. So we can see it, I can still reach all the buttons. I'd like to have it just a hair higher, so I may end up tweaking to bend it up slightly more centered. But then when I'm not tuning, not playing with it, and don't want to see it, I can just pop this thing back in place, which if I can figure out how it goes back on, and don't even know it's there.